How negotiable is that breathing? This is something which is always seemed to me a sort of massive technical problem, which I can never understand, in fact.
Well, it's true. And Verdi's particularly, he's particularly helpful. And on the other hand, he often makes absolutely impossible situations. He writes a lot of things in that he really wants to happen. If you take out all the marks over the notes in Verdi, you end up with something that you could easily do wrong. And he foresees everything that the singer wants to do.
If Susan forgot to breathe at that point, is that because, in fact, it's not marked in the score where she should?
I'm stupid.
She forgot.
But one of the reasons why I was talking about this stuff being sung more off the voice earlier on is that one has no temptation ever to ask that this be sung off the voice. It's quite clear what it is, that the emotion is actually in these long phrases of music that Verdi's written. But in order to make it contrast...
You have to find the technique to do it so that you never feel that people are singing, performing with their voice, but it's a totally natural thing to do, to be singing. It's just the most natural way to express.
Well, this, of course, is where the problem of the producer is so acute today, because I mean, there was a time with opera when people were really quite satisfied simply to hear the music and put up with the staging. I mean, it was, as it were, something that you tolerated rather than enjoyed. But now I think people now expect of opera an intense dramatic experience, often expressed through the music, but they want to see something which is understandable as a play. And something like this, which is quite clearly an understandable and intelligible story.
In those days, there was no such thing as a director, was there? There was a stage manager, and the man came along and stage managed the performance. He didn't. They didn't have this wonderful person called a director these days, but he just didn't exist. They came along and they did what the composer said in the score. All these scores are full of stage direction.
Yeah.
And the composer believed that it was so clear that why on earth should you do it any other way? You know,
but I think
because it's much. I mean, don't you find this is one of the biggest problems with opera, is that certain hoops and hurdles have to be jumped through and over at certain times because it's there in the music.
In fact, it might be nice to stage this little section now, just to show, in fact, how it changes its implication as soon as it actually becomes action, rather than merely singing. That the singing obviously mustn't be interfered with, but it's got to somehow be reconciled with something that we see.
There are great subtleties in all this. I mean, it's not just a tune that comes pouring out. I mean, this duet section starts. He writes mezza voce. He wants it almost whispered. You want to kind of inspire her without shouting at her.
Well, let's try that, and then we'll stage it.
My lady, what has happened? Now tell me, this morning, are you feeling better? Yes, but why? You won't get too excited. No, why'd you ask me? Only to prepare you for a joy you'd cease to hope for. Cease to hope for? You mean it? God didn't fail us. Alfredo, you mean you've seen him? He's here, oh honey, Alfredo.
Right, okay, and I'm here. You mentioned my name, and I took an express train. I'm walking backwards for Christmas. Or a pirouette. Yes! You're right. First time. And I claimed my £5. I think it would be nice if you, in fact, came in and did more or less exactly what you did, and sort of excitedly held her by the hand. Yes, yes, it is true.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's coming up behind me. And then as soon as he comes in, retreat reticently behind them. But yes, come on. And if you came then... now, how do you actually... What's the first thing that you sing there?
Oh, Violetta. My father told me this dreadful meeting.
Yes. I'm wondering, you see, I want to avoid bringing you straight to the side of the bed until that slow music begins. I think it would be marvellous if, in fact, it was just simply an eagerness like that, if that's possible to sing that. I think this is probably... We may have to elbow this, or at least have it downstage. How is that?
It's better to come to the bed as opposed to going to the stool.
I think so, because it looks otherwise as if you're making yourself...
That stops me short of my...
It does, yeah, it stops you short. It also makes you... Otherwise it makes you too damn comfortable. Good heavens. Hello. I brought some... I brought some grapes as well. It was hell getting here. Oh, the tube.
My lady, what has happened? Now tell me, this morning, are you feeling better? Yes, but why? And you won't get too excited. Oh, why'd you ask me? Only to prepare you for a joy you'd ceased to hope for. Ceased to hope for? You mean it? God didn't fail us, Alfredo. You mean you've seen him? He's here, he's here. Oh, hurry, Alfredo. My lady, what has happened? Now tell me, this morning, are you feeling better? Yes, but why? And you won't get too excited. No, why'd you ask me? Only to prepare you for a joy you'd cease to hope for. Cease to hope for? You mean it? God didn't fail us, Alfredo. You mean you've seen him? He's here, he's here. Oh, hurry, Alfredo. Oh, my
Yes. Now, it's a quite... It's quite difficult, isn't it?
It's difficult doing it on that leg for some reason.
Yes.
I nearly slid off it. It was most peculiar.
I think that you've got to come straight to her. I don't think that we can allow it to be a big entry without you're actually coming to here.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that your coming up to that position is the best. It's a question of...
I just need to get used to it.
I think otherwise it does become a sort of Gene Kelly knee slide. Oh!
That was almost exactly what it was, yes.
And of course, what we don't want to get is the knee slide carrying you right past me. I'll be back in a moment.
Flooring Anina on the way.
So let's just try and see. It need not be, I mean, perhaps you need, well, you've got to be that fast because the music brings you in that fast, I'm afraid. It's as if you've torn up the stairs, panting, you see. Bump, 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 bump. Yes. Yeah. I think, but I think you have to avoid making it look as if you're going for a kiss, because if you don't kiss, then it looks odd. If you do go for a kiss, I think it suddenly looks as if it's just a bit too perfunctory and trivial. I think it's just got to be looking at her.
Oh, my joy.
My father told me that dreadful meeting.
But you're back now, you're here beside me.
I'm so in love with you, my heart is beating, and life is misery when I'm not with you.
If I am living and you are with me, no grief in all the world can kill me now.
Forget your sorrow, my own beloved. Can you forgive my broken vow?
Can I forgive you? I too am guilty. It was for love I made my vow.
And neither man nor devil now will dare divide us forevermore.
And neither man nor devil now will dare divide us
Forever,
forever.
forever, no, 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 no,
this is obviously a complete change of mood at this point. And I think on that, just as it reaches that climax, then hug her hands to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then put them down slowly on the boom, boom. And then come round to her to be tender. You're realizing, in fact, how ill she is.
Mm-hmm.
And use that slow music to come round and sit yourself comfortably beside her so that she's actually nestled on your breast there. Okay?
Yes, so slightly behind her.
That's if you can, if it's possible to come into a position like that. So that's it.
How's that for you?
Fine.
Is that okay? Yes, a mobile conductor. Yeah.
He's on casters.
Okay. Let's just go then from. But you see how your expressions, your sung pieces should come out of something that you're doing, rather than simply being the next bit of singing that you've got.
Yes.
I mean, so often what happens on the page of a script when actors come into a rehearsal room, their lines are underlined in yellow, and the boring bits which other people are speaking are left not underlined. So that's the part where I go inert, and then the yellow bit where I start. When she's singing, you're still expressing, so that the point where you sing should come out of your reaction to what she's doing when she's singing. And really, at this point, what you're saying to someone who's ill, who's getting overexcited, is don't bother to talk. I'll do all the talking for both of us. So that make it look no. So it reaches a point where you have to sing. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Let's just then go, I think once again from the end when you let her back down into the pillows again.
Oh, my joy. My father told me that dreadful meeting.
But you are back now, you're here beside me.
I'm so in love with you, my heart is beating, and life is misery when you're not with me.
If I am leaving and you're with me, no grief in all the world can kill me now.
Forget your sorrow, my own beloved. Can you forgive my broken vow?
Can I forgive you? I too am guilty. It was for love I made my choice.
For neither man nor devil now will dare divide us forevermore.
For neither man nor devil now will dare divide us forever.
Forever, no, forever.
Very tender.
Bid farewell to Paris forever. We will be happy living together. Your grief will vanish now I'm beside you. Your life will blossom. You will be well. Your light and spirit glow here inside me. Trust in the future. All will be well.
I bid farewell to Paris forever. We will be happy.
Okay, stop there. Thanks, that's fine. That's lovely. Now, I don't know how awkward it is, that position. We'll obviously have to spend some time. It looks as if your hands merely trapped under there. I think you might have to put your arm right round the back so that she's really comfortably nestled on your arm, unless it actually restrains you from singing at that point.
No.
It would be lovely if
It's just getting there.
But the transition, working from one to another, it's terribly beautiful. And I think that we have to get the exact mood of what this duet is about. And I think that he's passionately trying to convince himself that she will be all right. At the back of his mind, there's this dark, black foil of knowing actually that this is singing in the dark, that it's whistling in the dark rather, that it's not going to work. And she should stare out
Does she believe it?
She knows it's
She knows
all
it's
over.
not.
She knows
So
it's
when
all
she's singing to him,
she's singing to comfort him.
she's calming him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he realises it's all over?
At some level, there's a sort of dark rim to what he's saying, knowing that actually it's all over.
Bid farewell to Paris forever. We will be happy living together. Your grief will vanish now I'm beside you. Your life will blossom, all will be well. Your light and spirit glow here inside me. Trust in the future, all will be well.
I bid farewell to Paris forever. We will be happy living together.
Yes.
My grief will vanish now you're beside me. New life will blossom. I shall be
Bid farewell to Paris forever. Yes, farewell forever. We will be happy living together. Yes, we will be happy. Your grief will vanish. I'm beside you. New life will blossom. New life will blossom. You shall be well.
I shall be
Bid farewell to Paris forever.
My grief will
Yes,
vanish now you're
farewell
beside me. New life will blossom. I shall be
Life will be so happy together.
My grief will
Yes,
vanish now you're beside me. New
be
life will blossom.
happy. Your grief will vanish. I'm beside you. New life will blossom. New life will blossom. I shall be mine. You shall be mine. You shall be well. All grief will vanish. All grief will vanish. Now I'm beside you. All grief will vanish. Now I'm beside you. New life will blossom. My darling, all is well.
Yep. I think that you should really never look at him at all.
No?
You just keep your eyes fixed on that. Maintain your contact with him, with his hand.
Yeah.
The-
So when I get,
Well,
gets stronger.
Yes,
then-
or if you want to look at him at all, look at his hand. Just play with the veins on his hand.
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah. And don't go looking.
Otherwise
up-
it ends
yes,
up like
otherwise
until-
it's
yeah.
on.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you know he's there. But it's the way one often sort of grabs the antipodes of a person rather than
Yeah.
their face, and just play with the veins on the back of his hand, and then stare out into this. I mean, you can every now and then look down to her, but
but there's nothing reciprocated.
But it's just because you're carried away again with the vision of what in fact is going to happen, that you are going to go away, but also it's encouraging yourself with that. You almost daren't look into her eyes because you'll see the truth there.
And I can't look at him because I know he's going to...
That's right. And I think it's just there's also a way of being sort of comforted by someone's hand rather than... It's much more intimate somehow when someone just sort of plays idly with someone's fingers, plays with the loose skin over the knuckles, like that. Well, so let's fire off with some questions. Anyone wants to ask anything, just ask away. Yeah.
Where do you get the most resistance towards acting on stage? From what part of the community or the profession? In other words, is it the singers who feel they have to hold back from acting? Or is it the conductor who will say, no, you can't do that because that's going to interfere too much with music? Or is it the public in that they expect to see people singing and not to be acting as well?
Well, I think things are changing very much.
Yes.
I think there was a time when audiences expected a particular sort of operatic presentation and got rather alarmed by naturalistic performance and felt somehow that they were being taken away from what they cherished in opera, which was often rather flamboyant and rhetorical movements. But I think that certainly at the English National Opera, where people are being accustomed to the idea that it's musical theatre rather than dressed up concerts, I think that there's very little resistance from the audiences, and certainly you don't get any resistance from singers. They actually enjoy acting now, and they pride themselves on it.
Well, obviously you can, any person can be technically pushed to their extreme in a given role and can be made to feel more or less uncomfortable by the situation they find themselves in, or by an individual director. For instance, Jonathan happens to be very good at putting people at their ease so that they can work. Other people do it by bullying you. You know, I mean, it's just different types of directors do it different ways and have different kinds of successes. But if you're a cabbage in the first place, you might find it difficult to respond. You know.
Yes, there's nothing worse than a cabbage at its ease. But actually, I find it very difficult to, sometimes when you are confronted by cabbages, to know exactly what you should do. I mean, I never resort to bullying, because in fact cabbages don't respond very well to that either. And a bullied cabbage is just as repulsive as one at its ease.
You mentioned that you would rather hear short phrases spoken rather than sung. How can you explain exactly
No,
what
I
you
didn't mean
mean?
that I wanted the short phrases to be sung rather than spoken. What I felt was that there are certain phrases in an opera which are quite clearly not in the nature of song. I mean, they're not long refrains. They're much closer to conversation. And therefore, I always ask the conductor, as I did ask Paul at the beginning, that I would ask to minimize the full vocal rendering of those lines and make them come nearer to speech. It wasn't that I was asking it to come off music, but that I was asking for a different scale of music.
Yes, you actually redistribute the energy you need that you use, rather than putting it all into this great machine that's producing a sound. You go easy on the actual singing of it and find the intensity from elsewhere.
But when it gets in a theatre, they all say they all want it loud, whatever you do. Can't hear you.
So let's just do that dying phrase again, and then we'll lead into the next bit.
Yeah.
Do the low version of All Grief Will Our Hands.
Now you'll be sorry.
That makes 40.
Your life will blossom. My darling, all is well. Let's go to church now. Give thanks to
Do that absolutely good. To just turn from the kiss, and then just simply turn your head back as if you really are exhausted. No more now.
No more,
That's it.
Alfred.
Right, you just go on.
Oh, let's go to church now, give thanks to heaven that we're together.
You're pale and trembling.
No, it's nothing. I'm so excited. I've been so wretched. And now you're with me. Give me a moment.
Violetta, what is it?
A little fainting after my illness. Now I feel stronger. See, I am smiling.
Oh, you're suffering.
It's nothing, Anina.
No, I think there should be one. Pitch him off the bed. Pitch him off the bed. Get him off the bed. And Nina. So I think there should be what we want now is that fruitless, unfocused struggling that happens when someone actually floundering and searching for a bed jacket. I mean, where is some a shawl, whatever it is. It should be that unfocused, hallucinated feeling of a delirium.
Okay.
And hands go all over the place. They just, where is it? So that it's a completely hopeless, impotent struggling to get yourself upright. Is that the panic scene music?
Yes. So that's after we've said what now or just before?
I think what you were saying, I'm feeling stronger.
Oh, it's now. Yes. And I'm going to get up.
And it's sort of looking for something on the bedside table, and you don't quite know what it is. And but your eyes should follow it. Is there anything I can do to help? Again, you get this thing of relatives in a hospital when someone is actually, what can I help? What do you want? Grapes.
Can I peel me a grape?
Yeah, I'll peel you a grape.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I
and then
become engaged from here?
And then you become disengaged, yes, and sort of looking with wild surmise towards Anina. Is there anything, nurse, what are we to do? Yeah, okay. Let's just try that from the very end. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and for the thread of music, you should never. No one should feel that they've been taken from a duet into a bit of recitative.
No,
but on the other hand, you have to work very hard to make the connection.
Yeah.
That nobody even notices. So rather than no more Alfred, and we're off on a different. You've got to almost sleep your way through that.
Well, that's right. I think that if in fact she drowses off and fall back, and then if he moves like that to kiss her, and then that's it.
Real.
So you're still in the duet. Yes, you're still, and you belong. That belongs to the past.
It's nothing
and
new.
to what's coming.
Otherwise, as you say, it's just now we're on to the fast bit.
It must be. Yes.
Okay.
No one's got to know a joins there at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And make all these, when you're singing, no, it's nothing, I'm so excited. It's the same rhythm which we've had lots and lots of times all through the scene. We had it when you first came in, and we've had, my father told me, but you are back now, I'm so in love with you. It's all, every phrase started with ba 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 beady, and now it's sort of washed out. It's the same rhythm. No, it's nothing. They're all the same note. You've got to be hanging on to just you can only cope with one note now.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be too emotional in a way.
Yeah, but I think it is exactly like you are hanging on by your fingernails, and the exertion of that.
A very weak thread of what's gone before.
Yeah, and the way an invalid becomes very intolerant of even a tender caress, it becomes an irritant.
Yeah.
No, I know you mean well, but do clear off.
It's a sort of echo of how you
I'm
were,
about to throw up. Yeah, I mean, I know, I know it's the thought that counts, but nurse.
Let's go to church now, give thanks to God that we're together.
You're pale and trembling.
No, it's nothing. I'm so excited. I've been so wretched, and now you're with me. Give me a moment.
Violetta, what is it?
A little fainting.
Yeah, okay, just stop there. I think on Violetta, what is it? Glance round to her. She'll be there, you see, for you. As if you really are alarmed by something that you see. If you really do let your head fall back there, and really let your eyes. That's right.
So it's to her action rather than
yes,
what she's saying.
it's her action. Yes,
Fine,
it's the fact that something
that
she's changed in some way. Something she's gone paler or something, and
she's
sweat's broken out on her. Yeah. I think probably we can kill two birds with one stone here, and that is in order to release Adrian's hand, which might be there till the end of the opera otherwise, and it eventually will rot off and fall off at the other side of the bed. I think at the moment, after you've said no more, Alfredo, well, what's the next
Let's
thing?
go to church now. Give thanks to heaven that we're
Give
together.
thanks. Just let's make yourself a little. That's right, and then yes, that's right. Yes. Or we may have to wait a little bit longer. Otherwise, let's see. I maybe just barking up the wrong tree with that. We will find a place to get your hand out. I promise. But I can see that it's really quite difficult. It looks so nice at the very end there. You see. Let's just go from no more, Alfredo. Just take from that. Purely mechanical.
But still very conservative.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Has that as well.
No more.
I mean, excuse me if, like the seal in the bedroom, I'm hanging over the bed head here. I won't be here during the opera itself, but I supervise what happens.
No more, Alfredo. Let's go to church now. Give thanks to heaven that we're together. You're pale and trembling. No, it's nothing. I'm so excited. I've been so wretched, and now you're with me. Give me a moment. Violetta, what is it? Little fainting after my illness. Now I feel stronger. See, I'm smiling.
Okay, that's fine. You see, that's lovely. Now, but all that stuff about I'm smiling, don't look to him. It's I'm smiling, as if it's absent-mindedly, as if some bigger concern which which neither of the two can understand. What is it she's looking for? Is it the potty, or what?
Yeah.
But there should be a sort of a sense of sort of panicky distraction at that.
All
point.
right. Yeah.
You know? Okay. I mean, obviously it won't be as funny as that, but. God forbid. But I think that it just needs that sort of quality. Otherwise, it becomes sort of slushy romance at that point. Okay.
Okay.
Good. Let's just. Did you find the hand getting out all right?
That worked
It
fine,
looked
yes.
absolutely terrific, and no one in the audience will guess that it was being taken out for gangrene. You know? So let's just go from. Back to the same point again. I think yes, back to the same point. If you don't mind.
Alfredo, let's go to church now. Give thanks to heaven that we're together. Oh, how you... Sorry, wrong word. You're pale and trembling. No more, Alfredo. Let's go to church now. Give thanks to heaven that we're together. You're pale and trembling. No, it's nothing. I'm so excited. I've been so wretched, and now you're with me. Give me a moment. Violetta, what is it? I thought you fainting after my illness. Now I feel stronger. See, I am smiling. Oh, you're suffering. It's nothing. Nina, help me to dress now. Violetta, have patience. No.
Up on your knees, then. This is a rapture of the fear of death. Just panic hits her.
She's got to get out.
She's got to get out. Now, where is it? It's coming from? I don't know. And it should produce this sort of impotent fluttering around. What do you want? And straighten the nightie, and so that and it's just go away. Yes. That's right. I'm dying. They're coming for me. You can hear the wings of the angel of death beating in the air. You see. It's terrific like that. Okay, let's go just from.
Now I feel stronger.
Now I feel stronger. It's terrific like that.
Is that all right?
Absolutely. Actually, don't just beat the thing. It is a search. It's that. Well, where is it? Slowly. Make it slow. Not too fast.
Not frantic.
Just
Okay.
That's much better when you don't stop in those gaps. As a crescendo through the rest.
Yeah.
It gets louder when you, even though we're not singing.
Where are we? What's it?
Now I feel strong.
I feel stronger. See, I am Violetta, help me to dress now.
Violetta, have patience.
No, no, I must go. I cannot.
Violetta, you fetch a doctor.
Yes, fetch him. Tell him Alfredo. Tell him Alfredo.
Okay, it's fine. Now, I think rather than fall back, stay in the kneeling position. For that, I cannot. Just fall back on your hunkers.
Yeah.
Just, I cannot. And just let your eyes go aloft.
What about all that da-da-da-da-dum?
Yeah, just have one hand just doing something completely meaningless. Just pluck the bedclothes here.
It's like almost mad people, isn't it?
It's just, that's right. It's just pluck the bedclothes. That's all. Completely meaningless. It is meaningless at that point. And they should want, what is she trying to do? What can we do to help? And it's as if you become obsessed by something. Yes, that's it. And look at it. Even look at it. That's right.
Oh, God, I can't.
That's right. You see,
But it's like I can't get the sheet
yes,
out.
I can't. It's what is it? Well, that's it. That's precisely what it should be like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what happens to people just on the edge of death, or in these deliria.
Yeah.
They become obsessed with something that we can't see. What is it she's trying to do?
Right. Okay.
You know, I mean, if people recover from these things, they will say years afterwards, I had to get the sheet on. I had to remake the bed. It was somehow more important than anything else that I had to remake the bed. And I don't know why, but that's what happened. And everyone's surrounded. What is she doing? And it's only years afterwards they could say, what I was actually trying to do was something absolutely new. I was trying to remake the bed. I was going to be punished for having such an untidy bed.
Yes, I know what you mean.
It's that sort of thing. Okay.
I feel stronger. See, I am smiling.
Oh, how you're suffering.
It's nothing. Anina, help me to dress now.
Violetta, have patience.
No, no, I must go. I cannot.
Dearest Violetta, go fetch the doctor.
Yes, tell him Alfredo.
That's right. That's wonderful. Just, when you say I cannot, address someone there.
God,
It's as if, but don't put your hand up. Simply, just address someone up there as if they've said, you must come now.
Yeah.
We're waiting for you. I cannot. I'm not ready. And I mean, they can well, what's she talking to? Who's she talking to? She's hallucinating, and voices are coming. And then someone said, you know, the voice is insistently crying, Violetta, Violetta. And it's that's calling her, and that produces this sort of angor animi, this anguish of the soul. I mean, one of the things I find very strange is coming from the theatre into opera is the fact that you are all required by your contracts to know the piece on the first day of rehearsal. I mean, it seems to be much more of a fixed requirement, whereas most actors, if they come to a rehearsal of a play, would find it extremely odd to be asked by the director to know the text from the moment when they begin rehearsals. In fact, they always say that they feel that if they learn the text independent of rehearsal, that they're somehow preempting the possibilities of discovering how the text ought to be spoken, whereas you actually do a lot of musical rehearsals before I arrive on the scene. I mean, you work with Paul and
Because
Philip.
we're governed by the music so much.
And you can't just get up and sing, say, a role in Traviata or any opera without having found the technical side of actually producing the sounds first. You can't sort of go along, you know, find that as you go along, because you can get yourself into awful trouble.
But one of the things that I'm interested in is the way in which, after that sing-through we had round the piano, as soon as we got little bits and pieces of props, just bedclothes and skirts and mirrors and objects like that, it began to become dramatic. And
it changes the way you sing it as well.
Immediately, yeah.
Immediately. It's all very well standing in a room and standing by a piano and trying to be somebody who's dying. And you're in your everyday clothes, and it's terribly hard to find that voice that you need, or, you know, I mean, I'm just talking from the thing I'm doing, but to find that sort of feeble line or whatever. But all of a sudden, when you're lying in a bed with the clothes around you and you know, you've got all the things, as you say, it brings out the right
But it's amazing how
or
little
a
you
better
need.
quality.
I mean, in fact, it needn't be the whole lot.
No.
Just one rather improvised bed there, which is not very convincing in its own right.
Off-putting, really.
And rather off-putting in some ways, and yet in some odd way, as long as you've got a token object which can be taken as a symbol of what you're doing, it somehow brings acting out of you.
You hide behind the music in a great,
Oh, yes.
especially in recitative. Well, I mean, although recitative doesn't look particularly musical, you even hide behind the fact, you know, that there is a chord here and a cadence there, and then you wait for someone else to finish, and then you start. And no thoughts go through people's minds. You have to ask 20 times more questions about recitatives than you think about about the concerted pieces. And you have to be able to paraphrase as well.
Well, all the drama and the action takes place in a recitative.
Well, isn't that where, I mean, that's the closest you get to straight acting, as it were, with at the speed of speech. And it's where we're probably weakest. That's the side of our, shall we say, stage technique that is practiced least.
Because we're so rarely asked to put thoughts into our minds and intentions in singers are.
Well, it's like I often find this when I work with operas which actually do have speech, not just recitative, say in The Magic Flute or in Fidelio. It's really quite painful sometimes to watch singers who have to start speaking, and it's like watching seals who've come up on land and they flop around with their fins and until they get back into a nice reassuring sort of 5-fathom aria, and then they're flipping around in ways which no actor could ever hope to do. And actors always, their jaws drop with admiration when they see what singers can do when they're in 5 fathoms of music. But then they're overcome with contemptuous ridicule when they see actors flopping around in 6 inches of recitative.
There's something desperately embarrassing
It is
about
embarrassing,
pouring
speech.
you can pour your emotion into an aria and let yourself go completely. The minute you're given half a dozen, well, I know, the minute I'm given half a dozen words to say, I just clam up completely and feel completely inadequate.
I think it's
and then
because
launch into, as you say, launch into something else and it's
I think it's because we, in the terms of the involvement and how much we find the essence of what we're doing, we spend most of the time in 6 inches of water, even in the arias.
I've just worked with a very famous old singer in Italy who is famous for a part which I shall leave nameless, and he quite clearly arrived with a set bit of business, a total performance which was absolutely incarnated and fixed, and it was really inconsistent with a rather naturalistic production which I had in mind. And I said to him, look, I think you don't need to play to the audience quite so much. There's a great deal of looking at the audience and waggling of eyebrows went on, and a whole lot of business on certain notes. Snuff was taken in time to the music and so on. And I said, really, that's really quite unnecessary. Let's go and do it again. We did it again, and exactly the same thing happened. He believed. He said to me, now, how do you like the changes? And I said, when are you going to put them in?
Sometimes you think you haven't got anything else. You know, if you've done a run of a thing, of a particular role, and you've grown during that run and found more and more things to put into it, it's very hard to suddenly go to somebody else and have them say, well, look, I want you to find this. And you suddenly think, well, I can't, because I've put everything I can into it, and I don't know I've got that in me anymore.
You must keep yourself open so
yes, that's right.
that you are able to accept what a new director, a new producer wants from you. And you learn a role and you get the bare bones of it. And as you're doing your production rehearsals, you then go in and your producer will give you more. And hopefully you get there for the first night and you think, oh, I've cracked this, I've got this one sorted out now. And by the end of the role, you realise that, in fact, when you started, you had very little of it. And at the end of the 5, 6, 10, 12 performances, whatever it happens to be, you feel an awful lot better about it. And then you go on to a new production. That's right. A new production happens a year later or 2 years later. And you go in there, at least you're musically sound, you know the story and all the intricacies quite happily. And then you find that you can then put on still more to the production. And hopefully, if you've got a director who is inspired, he will take a certain amount of what you've got and build on that. He won't sort of throw everything out of the window, but he puts his own stamp onto it very subtly, and you can gain an awful lot from it.
And once you've learnt about 15 or 20 roles, you have those in your repertoire, and you go around giving them because you've learnt something which is absolutely basic, which is the music. Now, that simply doesn't happen in the theatre. There is no such thing as the basic performance.
Oh, indeed, all sorts of things work upon this core of memory, and there are certain basic essentials of any role, and those are all standard, and the other things work from there. But the actual process of remembering and the process of the structure of the role is inexplicable. It happens involuntarily. You have as much chance of controlling that as to tell your heart to beat slower.
In that silence there, when they're not singing, I would like to build in audible sobs from you here. Mm-hmm. That one should have this thing beginning to build in this silence while this bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
So that we hear that as the sound of the grief is really what makes this scene start to work. Of course, the music is what makes it, but it just needs that added sound of something which is non-musical just to come in, just to interrupt it.
Yeah.
I mean, each one of these words, as they go, they wound him deeper and deeper, you see. And I think the one also, you see, the thing we haven't considered here is what happens earlier on. It is quite clear that he has fallen in love with her, really, I think, just as much as the son. Yeah. And that this is, in fact, a sort of Oedipal conflict between father and son for the same woman, actually.
Do you think Alfredo realizes this?
I don't think he understands it. I think he thinks that it is just simply the callous vindictiveness of a father who has failed to understand and has just is prompted by...
But am I not very cross with him at this point?
Oh, yes, you're angry, but I think at the moment when he first comes in, but I think at that moment, once this begins, you have that you are, in fact, a grieving young man, actually at the moment of the death of your beloved. Yes. And that really is what takes up. At that moment, you're not interested. Everyone is involved and wrapped up in their own private griefs here.
So my anger is partly triggered by the fact that I'm useless, I can't do anything.
That's right, you can't do anything now. And I think that after that anger has gone, that first slash of anger at him, once this boom, 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 this is the sound of the approaching footfalls of death. Yes. And that's the moment when you actually apply yourself entirely to her. Fine. And he, again, is involved in his own sort of convulsive grief here. And each of the people around this deathbed are to be seen wrapped up in their own private griefs. And as far as the audience is concerned, it's that which gets them, because it always is the spectacle of other people's grief rather than the spectacle of the departure. Mm-hmm.
Your noble sacrifice has covered you with glory. Forgive me for that torment I caused your noble heart. voice of tears to weep, I'll weep for you, I'll weep for you, I'll weep for you. Go join the spirits, for God is calling, for God is calling, is calling you. If you join the spirits, for God is calling you.
Alfredo. The pain is gone. The pain is gone. I can breathe now. My pulse is beating. I feel it. My strength is coming back. Ah, oh yes. Ah, I feel my life returning. Oh,
Right. Now, the question is whether we get you up at all. I'm not absolutely certain. Let me just build around it for the moment. Yes, I think you should go
Look
up
at her first.
nearer to the bed, and nearer to the bed, and nearer to the bed. And you see, in some odd way, what I'd like to do is to have a sort of moment of sort of infantile reconciliation between father and son, as if, in fact, the only person from whom he can get comfort is actually his father. And it would be a sort of wonderful, sudden moment of surprise and of almost of agony if, in fact, if she falls and is quite clearly dead, and if you feel is that the position? Is that the position?
I'm in this position, yes.
You're in that position there, and he comes there, and it's almost turning and burying your head in your father's
Yeah. It's like a recapitulation
That's right. Yeah.
job.
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Yeah. Rather than the usual thing of gathering the dead body in the hands, it's somehow.
Yes.
It's almost as if you see the thing about Alfredo is how infantile he is. I mean, much of his behaviour is innocent and naive, and it would be marvellous if, at the very moment of the biggest crisis of his life, actually, Daddy is there. I mean, it's the Daddy who's actually brought it all about. But nevertheless, in some strange way, what happens is that the 18 years of intervening is cancelled out suddenly, and he suddenly turns to his father for support.
Yes.
Because they're actually closer than he and she ever were. I mean, much deeper and longer bonds of affection between these two, which has led to the sort of the depth of the conflict, in fact. And it would be marvellous if, in fact, in some wild, unthinking impulse, you simply turn to Daddy and just
bury the head.
Bury the head in his, and we just see the father comforting him.
Yes.
So that I think we should try and go from the.
What do you want me to actually do when I die?
Well, I'm not absolutely certain yet. She said impatiently. For God's sake! We just don't know. Or we're not allowed to say. I'm not absolutely certain at the moment.
Did you fall on the floor?
Well,
Break my neck.
I did do a production in which she somehow, slithered out of bed in bare feet and just simply fell to the floor there. I just don't think that's really necessary or right. I just think that there should be a sort of a growing sense of a transfiguration. That there is this sudden moment of rising in in the bed, as if, and propping herself unsteadily on her, as if, almost slipping, and looking as if there's a sort of a vision of Jerusalem is suddenly seen there.
Yeah.
Let's just build up to that moment and see what happens again. I think we should go. It's very, very nice, that moment of comforting. And if you can manage to glance between phrases
Yes.
to his head so that there is
Yeah.
a sense of, poor boy, he's going to be left with the biggest burden of all, which is grief. Although I don't want to die, I'm going to be unconscious soon.
Yes.
Poor boy, he's going to grieve for me. And it is this desperate attempt to comfort him and console the living. And one always thinks that what happens is that they're consoling the dying. The dying actually spend more of their time consoling the living than the other way around.
Alfredo. The pain is gone. The pain is gone. I can breathe now. My pulse is beating. I feel it. Look at me. My strength is coming back. Oh, yes. Oh, I feel my life returning. Oh, joy.
It's over.
At the end of a really good operatic performance, you come out feeling almost not knowing whether it was an opera or a play, only knowing that it's been a great drama